Welcome to Explode Your Coaching Business Podcast, helping coaches, speakers, and trainers to live their purpose, grow their business, and make an impact in the world. Now, here's your host, Simona Vincenzi.
Hey sexy people, here is Explode Your Coaching Business Podcast, brought to you by gtex.org.uk, growing together exponentially. I am your host, the one and the only Simone Vincenzi, and this is the podcast for coaches, speakers, and trainers who want to grow their businesses by making an impact in the world. Yes! Today's episode is sponsored by Explode Your Coaching Business Training. So for more information, make sure you visit www.gtex.org.uk/start. I am super excited. Did I say super? Yes, super, yeah. Excited about this show because I have the pleasure to interview the one and the only Adam Strong. He's an ultra high energy personal productivity authority, serial entrepreneur, international speaker, and thought leader. Adam is also a former elite athlete that trained with Mo Farah for 3 years, and he takes the same skill set that you learned as an athlete to teach his clients on how to create high performance work culture to increase productivity and retaining high quality employees. So in this episode, we will talk about how to reach peak performances, what business and athletics have in common, what Adam learned training with Mo Farah, and how to buy a brand new BMW and increase your business by 75% and much more. So it was a blast interviewing Adam. Now make sure you listen up until to the end of the episode, and if you haven't subscribed yet to our incredible podcast, what the heck are you waiting for? Make sure you subscribe right now so you don't miss any other episode and my sexy Italian voice. And also leave us a comment, please, I would really appreciate that so we can boost the ranking on iTunes. That's how it works. So please do that if you want me to keep doing what I'm doing. Now, if you want to reach out to me and you want to say, "Oh, Simone, you're pretty crazy, I would love to date you." Well, first of all, remember, I'm engaged. And second, you can reach out to me at simone@gtex.org.uk. That comes straight into my inbox. With that, let's start the music. And welcome to episode number 26 of Explode Your Coaching Business Show. Here is Simone Vincenzi, and I'm really excited because today, as I said before, I have the one and the only Adam Strong. Hi Adam, how are you tonight?
I'm fantastic, Simone. I'm doing absolutely amazing. How are you doing?
I am really great, incredible. Thank you very much. And now that I see you, even better. So it's awesome. Now, first question. Mo Farah. So you have been trained with Mo Farah. Tell me more. How the heck did it happen? I'm like, this is crazy.
Well, obviously no one knew that Mo Farah was going to be a world and Olympic world champion. That's the first thing, right? So I knew Mo from a young age, actually. We trained together for a number of years. We grew up as children, believe it or not, where we were living and stuff like that. So I grew into athletics, into distance running, and he came over from Somalia, which is where he's originally from. And then he got into running and so forth. So, yeah, so that basically how it works. And obviously we trained together. It's interesting, Simone, right? So I remember like when we were training together, right, we were in West London, and there was an athletics track, you know, where we would train. We would meet up on a Tuesday and a Thursday to train. And during the winter, obviously it gets cold and it gets dark early, right? And like, you know, it must be like -2, -3, whatever, right?
Yes.
And then at the back of the running track, there is this muddy field. Yeah. And literally, like, the floodlights are obviously on the athletics track. And then the muddy field is literally pitch black. So what our coach got us to do, right? This is interesting, right? Me and Mo would be forced to go to the dark, muddy field at the back of the track. So we would do like a double loop and a double loop. Everyone used to hate it. Everyone hated it. And there was me and Mo. We were just like literally just running through. And that's probably the reason why, we got on so well and that kind of stuff. Because, you know, we wanted to be a winner. We wanted to be a champion. we are winners and champions in our own right, Simone?
It is, and this is exactly a lot of what we are going to be talking in this interview. How you can have the attitude of a champion, and also how can you maximize your health so you can be more productive and triple your productivity as well, and performances. So now I have so you trained with Mo, and then you are an athlete, and you've been into a lot of long distance running. I have what the first question is coming to me is, what did you learn from long distance running that you applied to your business?
It's a great question, actually. And I think there's actually three. I feel that there's three. And one of the first things that I really learned as being an athlete was to be focused, because without focus, you literally, if you didn't have the focus, like for me, when I was at school and training and that kind of stuff, I was already busy. I had to do homework at a high school and that kind of stuff. I already had a busy lifestyle. To be able to focus and to switch that mentality to that winning mentality, you have to have that, that laser focus, very similar to having a business.
Yes.
So there's huge correlations between the two. So that's the first one.
And I remember, sorry if I interrupt you there, but sure. I remember one of the biggest lessons that I've got in business from one of my mentors has been treat business like a marathon, not like a sprint.
Absolutely.
Because there are a lot of people that burn out too quick, or they overcommit themselves, and they are not able to really look at the bigger picture and seeing and running the whole marathon. It's like running a marathon and starting with a sprint, and then after 5 miles, then you don't have any more.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because next, and in a speaking engagement that I'm doing next week, actually, I'm going to be talking about pacemakers, how to use pacemakers in your business, right? And a lot of people, when they do a running race, I'm sure that you've done it, I've done it certainly, and whatever it is, you have this sudden energy, especially right brain people that have all these ideas, and they're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
That's me.
That's you, right? That's you, right? And the thing is, like, you sprint out the sprint gate, right? But then about mile and a half, you're lagging behind, and then the people behind are like making up ground.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of right brain people listening to our call, and are like, oh, that's me. Yeah, but the thing is, it's all about pace. You know, pace, right? So that's one of the things that I learned. So that was the focus. Second one was discipline. You've got to have discipline. Okay. Now, and I'm sure that you advise a lot of your coaching students and so forth. Get up early. Make sure that everything is scheduled accordingly. Time management is very, very important. That gives you the focus, but it also gives you the opportunity to maximize the time that you have. And I'm a big believer that, we're all against time, right? Time is our biggest asset.
Biggest commodity.
Biggest commodity. It doesn't matter about money, but time. And, sometimes we do get, I remember the times when I first became an entrepreneur, and probably you share the same sentiment, is that you go, it's a bit like going through quicksand initially. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And you feel like you're not making progress and that kind of stuff.
Nothing is happening. Sales are coming in.
and it's like, and then 3 months down the line, you think, wow, I've actually achieved a lot here. And then the average business owner is like, they haven't achieved anything in like 2 years. It's like, yeah, I've done as much work in 2 years as I did in 3 months, right? So
exactly.
Guys, you listen, take credit, right? Take credit, pat yourself on the back. You're doing a good job, right? So that's the second one. The third one was commitment.
Right.
All in or not at all. Okay. There's no maybe, when you're making a decision about like marketing, branding, sales, whatever the decision it is, you go all in or not at all. Okay. And, and I'm sure that you share the same sentiments. And the thing is, I always think of it as the best case scenario, the worst case scenario, or the most likely outcome. So that's the way that I contemplate things in terms of investment. So I hope that kind of gives you some insights there.
I like it. Repeat them again. So you have the best case scenario.
So the best case scenario.
Okay.
So and this comes down to like, if I'm like investing in anything, if it could be marketing, could be branding, could be coaching.
Right.
Could be, like when we get stuck, making a decision. But the thing is, it's a bit like being in a relationship which you don't really want to be in. Do you see what I'm saying? Like a girlfriend, wife, whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't really want to be
I've been there. I've been there.
Right? And you've got this like ball and chain around your ankle, and it's like, oh my God, this is just ridiculous. And it's slowing you down and that kind of stuff. Those decisions are costing you money. They're costing your pocket. They're costing you revenue right now.
In particular, the wrong girlfriend.
Exactly, the wrong girlfriend, because she'll cost you more money, right? She'll take you to the cleaners. I'm telling you. So it's, business is a bit like that, right? So it's the best case scenario. What is the, and these are the questions that you have to personally ask yourself. What's the best case scenario if I invest X, whatever it is? What's the worst case scenario? So if I invest in X, what is the return? What am I going to lose? If I invest in coaching, it costs me $6,000, whatever it might be. It costs me $6,000. And what's the most likely outcome based on the research, based on the facts that I have in front of me? What is the most likely outcome? So, and I always look for a 3-in-1 return when it comes to investing in anything.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you should.
It's a good return.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So those are my three.
And then how do you identify, like, for example, the most likely outcome? Because I think it's good. It's quite, in my mind, it's a bit easier to identify. Okay, this is the best outcome. This is the best case scenario. This is the worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. How do you identify the middle ground? Do you have any kind of criteria or something like a process that you use to say, actually, this is how I choose the middle ground?
Well, I'll go back to athletics because I think this is a really good, it's a good question actually. I'll go back to athletics. Firstly, how does one win a race? What is the goal? So if the goal is to win what is the goal? Is the goal to run the race as fast as you can, or is the goal to be in a higher position, finish in a higher position, whatever the goal is? So say we use time. Yeah.
Yes.
Now with time, what is it? So before I've got the finished goal. The finished goal is I want to do X amount of distance in X amount of time. Call it, say, I want to run 10 kilometers in, say, 40 minutes, just hypothetically speaking. How does one reverse engineer that process? So firstly, I need to work out what is the breakdown, what is the minute per mile in order to hit that 40 minutes, the goal, right? Yeah. So I know that based on that, it's around 6 minutes and around 40 seconds, 45 seconds, something thereabouts.
Yeah.
Probably wrong, 6:42 or whatever. So I know it's that. Second thing is to visualize. I do apologize.
No problem. We have you see, Adam, you are so in demand that people cannot leave you
crazy.
Right? You cannot leave it on even at this time.
It's very, very crazy. So I do apologize. That's a very embarrassing moment. I actually thought I put my cell phone on silent, and I normally put it in airplane mode. But
no problem.
Anyway, so to visualize. So visualize on the result. Visualize on the outcome. Okay, it's really important to visualize that, because if you can see it in your head, okay, you've already done half the work, because half the work is mental, the other half is physical.
Yes.
So it's exactly the same when it comes to business, and also based on the facts that you have in front of you. For example, if say, for example, when it comes to coaching, we were having a conversation about coaching or whatever it might be, and you know that person's credible, they get results, because results is absolutely 100% key, regardless of the cost. It's all about the results.
I agree with you. And sometimes you find people that just want to work with other people just because of the big name or the fame that we have, but then they don't look at the results. They're kind of like mesmerized by the aura of those people, but then it's like, do they really get results? And this is what also the conversation that we had when we met. It's all about giving results. It's all about, if you invest this amount of much money with me, how much is the money that, or quality, or saving of time, whatever is the measurement there, that you are going to get back. And I know you are very strong in measuring those results so that your clients can get the most from the coaching with you.
Yeah.
And now we're talking, so the whole session is about productivity. And I think we covered a lot of tips that can be applied right now to be more productive. Now, what are your productivity secrets because we want to triple our productivity.
Yeah.
What can I do in my life or in my business to make sure that I get more shit done in less time without stressing, basically?
It's a great question, and I think that the first question, first thing is all about. It's not about. Yes, it's about productivity is the end result. Okay, but how does one manage productivity?
Right.
Firstly, it's all down to energy management, right? Now, really, I've got a great example to share with you. Actually,
Go for it.
So we've just had the Rio Olympics, right? And obviously, Great Britain have done amazing. Right?
Smashed it.
Absolutely smashed it. But there was one particular sport that we absolutely dominated, which was the cycling.
Oh man, you know what? I never watched the cycling before, probably because Italian cyclists they weren't that good. But I was watching the Olympics with my fiancée on the sofa, and she said, "Oh, the cycling is up." I was like, "Yeah, cycling, whatever." I watched the first one. I was glued.
Right?
I was
Yeah.
glued.
Absolutely.
Okay, keep going.
Sorry. So anyway, yeah. So that we dominated in the cycling, and now I don't know if any of your listeners would have watched this one, but in response to a particular event, which was the men's team pursuit.
Yes.
Now it was the gold medal winning match, which was against, I believe it was New Zealand. I'm pretty certain.
New Zealand or
New
Australia.
Zealand.
Was it?
Australia, New Zealand. It was one of them anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Now, if I remember rightly, we didn't have a great start. In fact, what happens in the men's team pursuit, just to explain it, you have 4 cyclists and you obviously have a warm-up lap. But the 4 cyclists, they do 2 laps each. And you obviously have to beat the other team, of course. So to start with the 4 cyclists, and then so after 2 laps, 1 cyclist goes, then there's 3 cyclists left, and so forth. Cut a long story short, the first one, we were a whole second behind the New Zealand Australian team. Now, a second in cycling is like, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's a serious amount of time. Yeah. You know, a second is a lot of time. And then when we got to 2 bikes left, we were down by 0.3 seconds. So we had made up a lot of ground.
Yeah.
By the time we finished with 1 cyclist that went across, we'd actually beaten the other team by over half a second.
Yes.
And it wasn't the fact that they had a bad start. They didn't have a bad start. It's about how they conserved their energy.
Yes.
So it's a bit like that in business, right? So, and going back to like the marathon and so forth, you know, you were saying, you know, running a business is a bit like, you know, running a marathon, right? Yeah. If you go off too quickly, the competition will eventually catch up and beat you.
Yeah.
So, you know, managing your energy at the right time and to surge at the right time to know when to, and you know, you need to have pacemakers in your business and so forth. So that's a really good, classic example. But, you know, there's another thing as well with energy management is that going back to what are the benefits of energy management? So we talked about focus. Yes. Okay. One of the other things is that it increases cognition. Cognition is obviously very related to performance and memory. And I'm sure that we could all do with having a bit more performance as such.
Yeah. And then no one I never met someone that would say, no, I don't want more performance. I don't want to have better memories.
Absolutely. And concentration, because, you know, to be able to concentrate and, you know, especially if you are a solopreneur, you know, it can be very lonely running a business and you don't really particularly have anyone to talk to, or you don't have any employees. So to be able to conserve your energy is important and that kind of stuff. The other thing as well is that there are some issues if you don't get that energy management right. First thing is that you can become sick. Okay. Now, if you can afford to be sick, then you obviously don't need to be listening to this call right now. I know,
or even if you enjoy to be sick, you don't need to listen.
Exactly, because when you're sick, it costs you money. Okay, and that's a fact. You know, if you don't conserve your energy and you don't get the energy management right, you will become sick. You know, you may have 1 or 2 days. You know, and you got to think to yourself, well, what does it cost me per day if I don't work on my business? If I don't have any employees, and you're the only person in the business, and how you create revenue? You know, so that's the first thing, and it's all about how to work smarter but not harder. That's what energy management is. If I was to really kind of like revise it down to that, it's all about working smarter and not harder, right? And I know that
now the question is coming to me because this sounds like it's kind of a cliche. It's like, okay, it's work smarter, not harder. Okay, I've heard this a 1,000 times, but what does it freaking mean? How do I do that? So if we can have the commandments of Adam Strong of working smarter but not harder, what are the things that you as a left brain person, because us left right brain people, we need people like you. And actually for every right brain person, I would recommend a left brain coach, because they will be able to see what not even your coach can see, even from experience, because they will drill the things down to such a level of details that is incredible. And this is what will make the difference. So what are the commandments for you for working hard, smarter and not harder?
Well, I think it depends on the goals of the individual. I mean, I'm not talking like business goals. I mean, they can play in it, but I'm talking about personal goals. I'll give you an example, right?
Go for it.
So each year I set myself a physical challenge. So this year, well, you might know, this year I did something completely crazy.
You did a triathlon? Was that a triathlon?
It was like a triathlon. They call it adventure racing. So it's like a new concept of like triathlon. Obviously, triathlon is swim, bike, and run, right?
Yeah. This
one is trail running, mountain biking, and kayaking.
Jeez, it's like a triathlon on steroid.
Exactly, right? It's like a steroid, right? The reason I do it is not really, I obviously I'm a big believer that if you set yourself physical goals, as in physical personal goals, right? Yeah. Whether it be run a marathon or whatever it is, I believe that also has a strong correlation to the business that you currently run. Okay.
Yeah.
So if, for example, you decide to hit yourself a challenge, now I do it because I also like to raise money for charity. It's all about giving back. I feel that that's a very important part of thing. I'm sure you do exactly the same.
Yeah.
If you achieve something physically, I guarantee you that your business will surge. I know for a fact that this year, actually, my personal business, even though I've got many, my main consultancy business is that I'm on track for about a 75% increase in my business this year alone.
Wow.
I mean,
which is massive.
Which is huge. It's huge. Honestly, that's like, if I say to all your listeners that you could also, achieve a 75% increase in your business, what would that do for your life right now?
Wow, that's massive.
I mean, it's huge, right? It's for some people that could change your lifestyle.
It can change, and some people can get a new BMW, right?
Exactly, right? Was that you? No, I don't know who that is.
No, you don't know who that is, right? Came up this afternoon with the new BMW. It wasn't you, right?
No, it wasn't me.
Okay, right. With full leather inside, and no, it wasn't you. Sorry.
I drive conversation. I drive a crappy car. That's not.
All right. Okay.
But it's all about the goals and that kind of stuff. So some of the some of the goals that some of your listeners might have is that you might want to sustain high energy. You might just want to you might want to lose some weight. You might want to might just want to maintain. I just want to maintain whatever the physical goals are. And some of the most common questions that I got asked, especially around energy management, is what diet should I eat? What should I have to eat? Is carbs good for you? Should I avoid carbs? Is that protein? That kind of stuff. There's a whole array of different things, but again, it all depends on the goals that you are as an individual. Because we also one of the things that you have to take into consideration is that we're all from different cultures as well.
Right.
So Britain is so diverse in terms of cultures. We've got Asians, we have Polish, European people, we have British people, and we all have our different tastes and that kind of stuff. And they're all different. But also, you have to look at all the different countries as well. So, for example, if we look at the Mediterranean diet from where you're from, it's very different from the British diet. it's massively different. But for Italian people, I mean, most Italians are, they live until like what, they're 90 or 100 and 110 or whatever, right? But British people, they have a completely different diet, and it goes on the seasons and that kind of stuff. So it all depends. There's so many different variables, right? Goals, cultures, and what works for you and that kind of stuff.
So I think what you're saying is about finding what works for you personally. It's not like a rule of thumb. Okay, do this, you will get these results. No, it's about where you are, where you're coming from, what's your culture, what are the things that are right for you, and then applying those strategies that are just valid for you. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And, and especially when it comes to nutrition, we'll talk about nutrition and food, but I always use the 80-20 rule, right? The 80-20 rule, like 80% you have a good diet, but the 20%, you're still human at the end of the day. Okay. You can cheat, right? You can, maybe have
Thank you.
That means that you can't have takeaway food every day of the week. Okay. That's not the 80-20 rule. Okay. But again, like I said, you're still human beings at the end of the day. And I always find the 80-20 rule works for a lot of people, regardless. So 80% good diet, 20% eat what you want, with limits, of course.
It works very well for me. For example, I'm vegan, and I'm about an 80% raw because I eat a lot of salad. But then if I'm out, I'll definitely get a vegan dessert, or I'll definitely get my vegan cookies, which I love. And I'll definitely get, my vegan ice cream, my vegan chocolate. I'm a chocolate. I mean,
dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate, man. High five.
There we go.
Is that, don't take me away from that dark chocolate. I cannot live without it, right? Okay, I have another question. I have a few questions before we wrap up. One is, who has been in business or life, you can choose, your biggest influencer? Can be alive or dead, and someone that really inspired you, living or dead, that really inspired you to achieve what you want, what you have achieved, that you are keeping to achieve it, and also challenge yourself every single day. So who is that person?
That's a very good question. Well, I have someone in my mind, which it's probably someone that I kind of idolize, because I think it's good to have idols and role models in our life and that kind of stuff. One of the persons that actually come to my mind is Sir David Attenborough. He to me is, even though he isn't a businessman, we know that, right?
I personally don't know. Can you give me a bit of background?
So David Attenborough, he does a lot of things with nature and has been on the BBC for so many years and that kind of stuff. I know that many of your listeners know Sir David Attenborough. He does has written lots of documentaries such as The Blue Planet. He's traveled all around the world, but the purpose of his life is that he cares about the planet. Yeah. He cares about plants and animals, and he tries to preserve their life and that kind of stuff. And even though it's not really business relevant, okay, the reason why I picked that particular person is because he's not thinking about business. He's thinking about how is it that I can add value, and how is it that I can help, life. It's a bit like the Dalai Lama, Yes. He's not a businessman, not really. But, he cares for, he doesn't really care about respects other people's opinions, but he has a different vision for life. And that's what Sir David Attenborough is. When it comes to business, business mentor or whatever it might be. That's an interesting question. Who would really kind of push me? I like the word accountability.
Yes.
And one of the things actually that really kind of got me thinking in terms of going back to athletics and stuff like that, people like Steve Cram, people like Steve Ovett, they're old school distance runners and that kind of stuff. And I always go back to athletics because there's so many correlations between businesses and turning businesses into champions. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So in terms of like an actual business model, I guess, Steve Jobs was, I think for some people, even myself, I think that he kind of correlated, there's certainly some values that I could certainly work with. So I think if I was to pick one, I think Steve Jobs would probably be up there. And believe it or not, I actually like, love him or hate him, I actually like some of the things that Donald Trump does. Like I said, I know that they're ludicrous, but because I know.
Okay, so what I would love to hear now is, because I think the people that people hate about Donald Trump, people talk about a lot. So what are the things that actually on a business level you like about Donald Trump? That's really intriguing, exploring that.
Okay,
that
so
part, and then we move on.
So regardless of what you think as what Donald Trump is, and any of your listeners about the US presidency, love him or hate him, you can't take the fact that he is the branding king in my eyes. Okay? He is a branding king. He's super successful businessman, but there are certain values and attributes that I love about Donald Trump. Things like the no BS attitude, and I love that kind of no BS attitude. It's a bit like like Simon Cowell or Sir Alan Sugar on Dragon's Den and that kind of stuff. He has those attributes.
Straight to the point.
No BS. No, I need to think about it. That kind of stuff is a simple yes or no. Yeah. That's it. There is no kind of cliche behind it. And I love that. I love straight talking. That's probably one of the key attributes that I like about Donald Trump. And also, he also values his time so valuably. One of the other things is that, I don't know about you, but when I have meetings, I obviously don't live in London. I commute in. But when I do have meetings, I have all my meetings very, very much back to back. I allow time to travel if I need to travel, but I do walk-in meetings or I'll do stand-up meetings. Everyone hates standing up, by the way. The big reason why I do that is because I know that people hate that, right? I get the meeting done quicker. We don't need to talk about personal stuff and chit chat and blah, blah, blah. Oh, how are you? How's your girlfriend? Oh, yeah. Whatever. Let's just talk about business. And then move on to the next thing. So,
but if you had told me, I work on a standing desk. So if you had to tell me next time, do a stand-up meeting. Next time we meet, we are going to have a stand-up meeting. Deal. Never had one of those.
Honestly, it's just a great way to maximize your time, and a lot of entrepreneurs, especially a lot of your listeners, a lot of them are time poor, and so you have to try and maximize even those little tiny minutes, and don't have a meeting for the sake of having a meeting. There's always got to be an outcome. What is the outcome? What are we going to do about that? So,
and that's, I think this is a massive lesson on productivity.
Yeah.
You always have an agenda. And I think that at the beginning of someone being an entrepreneur, when they don't know how to schedule a meeting, they think that they want to meet everyone and talk about everything, and then they need to have a 3 hours meeting. No, not true. You can have an half an hour meeting, 15 minutes, half an hour meeting. If you want to meet someone or talk about opportunities and have a clear agenda. Okay, we are going to talk about, first of all, getting to know each other's background. Tick. Then talking about business opportunity. Tick. Then third, see how we can move forward and then follow up.
In fact, I'm actually much more stricter than that.
What is your process that you have?
I'm gonna tell you and your listeners about like what I do prior.
Golden nuggets. Yeah,
these are hard hitting, and I think that you guys need to take some notes here. So one of the things that I do, if I have like say I have X amount of meetings, okay, first of all is that I prepare before I even have my meeting. Number one, I have a notebook, and normally it's a Luminous pad. I've just run out of my Luminous pad, but I'll have a notebook. Literally, I'll have a notebook like this. Yeah. And in my notebook, I will write questions down prior to the things that I want to ask this particular person. I would have already checked their credibility out. I would have already gone on Google to find out who they are and what business they do. I want to know who credible they are, how authentic they are. I want to know everything about that person. And then when I go along to the meeting, I'll have my notebook. I'll have my 5 or 6 questions already written out. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm already prepared. I don't need to talk about chit chat. I already know about that person already. And anyway, if you think about it, a smart businessman would have already done his due diligence anyway.
Sure.
Do you see what I'm saying? Regardless of client meet or partnership opportunities, I do it all the time. So when I'm meeting that person, they think that they're there for a chit chat. No, I'm not there for a chit
No.
chat. I already told them prior to our conversation that I have only half an hour,
Yes.
maximum of half an hour. And then
So
when
you immediately set the time frame.
the time frame. So I set the time frame.
Cool.
Correct. I set the time frame. So I say, okay, we're meeting between 12 and 12:30. I only have half an hour. So let's maximize. So when I go along to the meeting, I have my notebook. I have my 5 questions with me. And then think of the impression that person then gets.
Yes.
It's a bit like, it's not a job in an interview. You're not interviewing an employee. Well, you might be, but the point is that you're able to maximize the small amount of time that you have.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I think that for me is absolutely golden.
And I think that's when the time is almost like goal setting. When if you tell some people to achieve like a realistic goal in a week, or if you give them a month, they will take. You give them a week, they will take a week. If you give them a month, they will take a month.
No,
and that's
you're
the
right.
same thing in meetings. So guys, I make sure that you took notes of this, because this process will save you massive time. I used to be one, going to the meeting because I didn't want to upset anyone, so I was finding out about themselves and not even doing my due diligence before. And then last year I changed that, and oh my God, how my life changed as a business owner. And also for people that said, well, I don't want to have an agenda, say, okay, I'm afraid that we're not going to meet.
It's true though. At the end of the day, if no one has an agenda, then there's no point in having a meeting.
Yes.
It's just pointless. If I'm meeting with someone, there always has to be an agenda. Otherwise,
if you're meeting a friend, otherwise you're meeting a friend, and
we're
then
meeting a friend and we're having lunch. We're not talking business. So there's 2 big distinguished points that you have to really kind of make a fine line, right? Is it you're there for, if most of your listeners are entrepreneurs and small business owners anyway, you don't have time to have lunch, right? Okay. You have time to make money and grow your business. Simple as that. I get the whip out and just, do you see what I'm saying? That's the point. You see, you don't have that time. So you have to, do these business things. And the thing is, it kind of makes sense. And I'm sure that some of you, including you, Simone, have been stung many times because you didn't do your due diligence. All right. Whether the partnership went
very recently.
There you go. But the thing is that you have to make mistakes in order to find the solution. And sometimes it could cost big money.
It is.
And that's the problem. So those are the things that I would really, really highly endorse you guys to do.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Adam. So now we are wrapping up our interview. There is before we can ask you, how can people get in touch with you? Because Freaks is already gone. Oh my God. It has been a blast so far. I was stalking you on the Huffington Post, because for those of you listeners that don't know, you can find a lot of articles that Adam wrote for the Huffington Post. And I was looking at your bio as well, and you authored a book which is called Move It or Lose It, which has been very well received also on Amazon with incredible raving reviews, like 5-star reviews all over the place. So tell us a bit more about the book, and why did you write a book called Move It or Lose It?
Well, initially, Move It or Lose It was for I guess it was to help people with their lifestyle, to help with stress and burnout and that kind of stuff. And I really need to get a lot of my intellectual property out there. Okay. Yes. So I decided to publish a book. But what's interesting enough, actually, is that I'm actually re-releasing and bringing out the 2nd edition. This is, I'm only just telling you this now. In fact, you don't know this. Sorry. But actually, in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I'm actually going to be launching the 2nd edition, which is going to be called Fit Body, Fit Business. And this is going to be more specifically for business owners, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and even CEOs of medium to large size corporates.
What will be the main principle, the main driving theme of Fit Body, Fit Business? If you can just have to give a summary in a nutshell, what is the book about? What does it talk? And who is it for?
Well, I think the main principle really is, now most of you know that I used to be an elite athlete. The principle is how do you create, regardless of the size that you are right now, how do you create your business into a gold medal winning organization?
Brilliant.
That's what it is. So that's so some of the things we're going to be talking about is there's three main principles, as you know, that in order to grow any business, people is the first one.
Yes.
If you don't have the people, if you don't look after the people, you don't look after your team, it's about maximizing team performance.
Yes.
And how do you look after yourself as a business owner? So we're going to be covering there's going to be something on nutrition in there. There's going to be things on stress and burnout, goal setting. How do you set goals for your business? How do you set goals for your team and that kind of stuff? So it's how do you create? And if you don't have any employees right now, it's just a great book to give you some foundations, because you need foundations first, and
it's true. And also, if you don't have employees right now, it's a great thing to start thinking about how what is the right process to care about the right employees, rather than being not prepared when that time will come.
Absolutely. It's so true. It's so true. And it's easier to actually create the culture that you want at the beginning, rather than once you have employees, because it's hard to get rid of a culture when it's kind of embedded. You know what I mean? It takes time to, should we say, flourish and thrive.
Yeah.
So, but if any of you guys want to, if any of you guys are interested in getting in touch, you can go to my website. It's called www.meetadamstrong.com. Yeah. And if any of you guys, I've got only 5 different, because I'm extremely busy. And again, I apologize for the interruption earlier. There's for 5 listeners, I've got some complimentary calls if you're interested. If you go to the website, and then you'll be able to see when my availability is. And then you pick a time what time's good for you, and I'm very much looking forward to that, actually.
Brilliant. So then people can find more about you and about your book, and also book a call with you. That would be awesome. I have one more question before we ask again how people can get in touch with you. And because our listeners are mainly speakers, coaches, consultants, trainers, you've been really having a lot of awards recently, speaking opportunities, and I've seen you speaking like everywhere now. And how do you get your speaking gigs? What is something that you do that helped you creating growing your speaking business? Because that's a big question that a lot of listeners ask.
It's a huge question, probably not relevant to energy management, but I'm going to give you the answer anyway.
Go for it.
One of the things that really last year, actually at the end of last year, when the end of the financial year for my company was, I wasn't happy with where I was right now, and I asked my coach, I said, listen, what is it that I need to do in order to change my fortunes? One of the things that I needed to focus on was personal branding. So and even though I'm an author and so forth and whatever, personal branding is probably one of the key fundamentals as the reason why I've been getting awards and so many opportunities and that kind of stuff. There's company branding and personal branding, but personal branding is kind of going to give you credibility, because people do business with people. People buy people. So if you have like credibility and you have authority in your industry, the idea is to dominate. I mean, to dominate your industry. Regardless, you might be a speaker in a particular field. It could be in IT. It could be that, you want to be a speaker in sales. You could be a consultant. You could be a coach. You could be an executive coach, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. The fundamentals don't change. Branding is absolutely probably changed my world.
Thank you very much for the answer. I know it was a bit off topic, but this is always a burning question that we ask all our speakers, because that's how also our guys are going to listen. They earn the bread and butter, and also they can implement all the strategies that you've shared before. So now, Adam, has been incredible. Thank you very much. It's been a blast, this interview. I hope you're going to have you soon on the show again. How can our listener again get in touch with you?
So they can go to my link, which is meetadamstrong.com, or obviously you can go to Google and search me or whatever it is. I also have my website, which is adamstrong.net. So if you guys want to have a look on my website, you're very welcome to. Feel free to reach out. I'm on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm very big on LinkedIn, actually. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google Plus. So, feel free to connect with me and, personal message me and just say, hi, I'm Joe Blogs. Great listening to you or whatever, right? So, but yeah, reach out. And if you have any questions or any challenges that you want to have a discussion about, I'm more than happy to have a quick chat with you and go from there.
That's perfect. Well, thank you very much, Adam. It's been a great this interview tonight. And for every listener, thank you very much for listening to episode number 26 of Explode Your Coaching Business Show. We are going to be back next week with a brand new episode. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, what the heck are you waiting for? Subscribe right now, and as well, get in touch with Adam, and everyone else. Have a fantastic day, and always live with purpose. Ciao.
Bye.